Good morning, everybody. I was having a moment there. It's Laura Armstrong here, Leadership with Laura. Today, we are going to have a great session. I'm very excited about it. So I know we weren't on last week. We had a bit of tough technical difficulties. But you know what? You just roll with the punches and you go with it. So my company is Leadership with Laura. I'm a leadership accelerator communication expert, 3-time world champion martial artist. I know, I don't even look like it, right? I've created world champions in my students, and they've created it in theirs. So I know what it means to create a leadership legacy. Leadership is such a huge subject. And I think, it's something that we have to embrace on a very individual level. So leadership is, I was in this clubhouse room last night, and I'll just mention that. So I run a clubhouse room called Leadership Warriors. You're all welcome to join. Come on in, follow the room. We have rooms about education, conversation, collaboration, and all things leadership. And that is such a diverse subject. So please join us there, and the last room that I did last night, we were talking about, are you a leader? If so, why are you broke? Right? And it was really an interesting conversation that went on for 3 or 4 hours and tended to trigger a lot of people coming into the room. They're like, what do you mean? How could you say I'm broke, right? And all these issues came up. So we had good discussion around that. So I like to get people thinking, making them slightly uncomfortable to start creating change in their life. But the thing is, everybody listens to things within their values, and that's different for each person. So you as a leader have to be an exceptional communicator. And that's what we've been talking about the last few weeks, communication. And I do a methodology called BANK. It's like a personality assessment, but reverse engineered to teach you how to speak to the values that are important to the people that you're interacting with. And the last couple of weeks, we covered the first 2 personality types. The blueprint, someone who's very structured, needs processes and systems and, everything predictable, very minimal risk. And then we talked about the action, who is the opposite of that. Someone who loves excitement and opportunity. They love competition and winning. You think I'm in action? You're right, I am. So that's my main code, but you're made up of all 4 codes. And today we're going to talk about the nurturing personality type. So a lot of the time when we talk about the nurturing personality type, what do you think the color would be? So it's represented by the color yellow. What does that mean? It's like sunshine and sunflowers, happy faces, the color of gold, right? Hearts of gold, that kind of thing, right? So when we're talking about the box analogy, if you were thinking of each personality code as how they would be represented with a box, the blueprint is absolutely inside the box. The action is completely outside the box. But the nurturing isn't either of those things. It's very different from the other 2. The nurturing wants to recycle the box. They're all about helping others, creating harmony on the earth, and they have to be approached from a completely different perspective than the other 2 personality types because they have their own unique values. One of the biggest differences when you're talking and leading them, if you're working with them and purchasing products, services, or offerings, is they make their buying decisions very differently from the other 2 codes. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So decisions are not based on what you say, but how you say it. Okay. And they've trained themselves to trust their instincts and their intuitions, and their decisions are based on their gut feeling. How many times do we think about things and like, how does that feel to me? Do I want to go ahead with that? Tapping into your gut is something that, we work at all our lives, whether or not we believe in that thing, right? It's like, oh, I should have listened to that inner voice. Or, I think that knowing your knowing is something that we all have, but if we want to listen to it, it's one thing. If we don't, that's another, right? Nurturers are born with this innate sense of it, right? This innate sense of like this inner voice that tells them the yes or no. And the difference that I find between them and other codes is they actually trust that and they're willing to embrace it. Whereas other codes are not listening, or it doesn't make sense, or I can't explain it. right? The nurturer doesn't have that. They believe it's an integral part of who they are, and it is. And why, and when they do something, it has to feel good for them, or they just don't do it. If anything is even remotely suspicious, it's not going to happen, right? So sometimes speaking to a nurturer in a sales setting can be a little more challenging than with the other personality types because their values are steeped in relational characteristics that can be more difficult to transition to business skills. So you really, how you say something is just as important as what you say, like I said. So you really, and this is the bottom line, you have to be authentic. You have to be you, and you have to be honest and upfront about things. And I don't think there's anything I could say that is going to sugarcoat that. It's just the way it has to be. So they've got a certain set of values, and we're going to talk a little bit about those. So the first one is relationships. So nurturers value relationships above all else. Okay. So for the action, they're all about getting to the benefit, knowing how much it is, and being seen. Their nurturers are the opposite of that. They don't need to be seen. They just want to connect with everybody. They want to feel like they're a part of a bigger whole. They're creating a community. Excuse me. So relationships are so key, right? The sooner you become a nurturer's friend and create a warm relationship, and again, this has to be authentic, the more quickly you can move forward in the sales process with them or build that relationship with them. The next is authenticity. Authenticity is especially critical to nurturing personality types. You absolutely cannot fake it till you make it. Okay, we've all heard that saying when you're dealing with a nurturer. It's going to require you, and this can be uncomfortable for some of the other personality codes, to be vulnerable and share something personal about yourself. If you can't get to that point with them at some point, and it doesn't have to be like a life story, it's just something you care about, or something that makes you feel out of your comfort zone a little bit, that's really going to create that trusted relationship, and people work with people that they know, like, and trust. And so being vulnerable is the key to that. And that, for me was just something that was very uncomfortable for many, 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 many years until I realized I was the only one who had issues around that, right? Other people didn't care. They just wanted to know more about me. They didn't have the stuff attached to it that I had put on it. So just be clear and think about that when you're working with the nurturer. Does it really matter to them? And I can tell you with the nurturers, you're not going to have judgment around it when you decide to be vulnerable. They want to support you in any way they can, right? And you allowing that to show up for yourself and for them is going to go a long way to nurturing that relationship. Okay. Personal growth is another value. If you're identifying benefits, so when you're talking to a nurturer in business or in life, identify benefits which will allow nurturers to maximize the full measure of their purpose. And, you can do this by a very simple technique of asking key questions. And to me, having conversations with nurturers, and I'm not a nurturer, it's not my first code, is the easiest thing that I do because they love to talk. And I love that. I love hearing about people. I love people, right? So the way you want to, get yourself ingratiated with them is to start asking key questions. So for instance, if we're having a conversation and I'm trying to let them know about what I sell, maybe it's for them, maybe it's not, but I can tell you they probably have a huge referral network, and we're going to get into that as one of the values. So, basically I'll say, so tell me a little bit about yourself. What are you looking for? Right. I want to know a little bit about you, and you let them talk, and then really actively listening. You're nodding your head. You're like, yeah, I hear you. You're not just hearing them. You're interacting with them. You're actively listening to them. And I've mentioned this before in our training. Okay. And the other thing about that is you want to gather as much information as you can about them to have the relationship and conversation that you want to have, whether it's to close your sale, whether it's just to build that trusted partner relationship, whether it's more just out of curiosity and you want to find out more about them, whatever your reason is, but you need to be actively listening. And, as they're talking, pull out a couple nuggets that they dropped there. And, what I like to say is once they finish talking is like, you said this, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Sure, absolutely. I'd be happy to. And they keep talking and I keep gathering that information. You can do this with each code, by the way, but the nurturers are the easiest because they love creating conversation and community around this. And so you let them talk a little bit more. And then what you can do is, I heard that you said you love doing that. Can you tell me why? Like, what is it that got you into that? And that's a whole other conversation. So you'll keep asking these key questions is going to keep them speaking so that you get more information. And then you can start to understand the values that are important to them. Okay. And what that means to them. And there's nothing more that they like than when you can start to relate to them. Okay. Nurturers are all about creating relationships. That was the first value. And personal growth is a part of that because it really allows them to expand who they are. And that's what they're all about. Self-growth, learning, creating more of a growth mindset. Okay. The next value is significance. There are two sides to the value of significance for a nurturing personality type. So they want to feel significant and they want you to feel significant. It's never one-sided with them. Okay. Simple acknowledgments like thanking them for their contribution and showing your appreciation, that creates, the feeling of significance for them. That to them is like paying them money or, giving them applause or, job well done, right? Like, so paying compliments to an end, it really, it's not intended to stroke their ego. It's intended to make them feel good and feel like they're a part of something because that is the most important part of anything to them. Okay. The next is teamwork. Okay. And this is something they live. Okay. So team is an acronym and there are many acronyms for the word team. You've heard it before. There's no I in team, all that kind of stuff. So we use it in the sense of together, everyone achieves more. I love that, right? So together, everyone achieves more. And that really is how the nurturing personality type lives. This is the motto of the nurturer, and the nurturing personality type wants the whole team collectively to win. Show them you have a team and that you work together. Because if you're not working together, you're working apart. And that's not what they're about. Okay. The next one is involvement. So nurturing personality types love to serve. There are more ways that you can find for them to participate, the better. They will respond. They are the ones who are always the ones to put up their hands first. Okay. And you'll know who they are. And when you're in a sales appointment with them on the selling side of things, involve them in the discussion. Genuinely compliment them on their involvement in the community or find ways to get them involved. You know what? Like, for instance, if you're selling a nurturing personality type of car, well, it's got all these great features, but you know what the best part is? You'll be able to fit your family of 5 in there comfortably. You'll be able to take those road trips to those destinations together that you've been wanting to take, right? Can you imagine how fun that's going to be with you and the family all together? Okay. And get them to meet your boss and just say, hey, this is John. I work with him. We're so excited you came in here today. I was telling him a little bit about you and your family. He's got 5 kids too, so he totally understands why this would be the perfect purchase for you because he's done the exact same thing and they had the best time. See what I did there? Okay. So keep that in mind, right? When you're talking about involvement, bring people in. They want to meet your team. To you, that may be boring. To them, that's a must-have. Okay. Next is community. They want and need to belong to something that has a significant meaning. The more you create the feeling of community, the deeper you step into their heart. And building community is something that doesn't cost you a lot. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's just you being authentic. And if that's not your natural state, and there's nothing wrong with that, you really have to get outside of your comfort zone, out of your own head and into theirs, and realize that those are the values that are important to them. Okay. Next is charity. The nurturing personality type wants to give everything away. when I work with my clients in my leadership, and sometimes I do have a lot of nurturers. I get all sorts of different personality types, but it's the number one thing that I see time and again. Okay. They want to give it all away, right? And many of them work for non-for-profits. They want their life to have value. And I understand that when I'm working with nurturers. So, the way I work with people like that to get them to step into the financial side of their business, which is an essential part of their business, whether they like it or not, the more money they earn, the more people they can help. And if you can get them into that space, then they're going to flourish. Okay. But if you can't, there may be other issues there. Maybe it came from their parents. It's a poverty mindset, or, we all have to give. If you receive from anybody, it's selfish, right? Like, there's all these other conversations going on that we don't know about, right? So, just be really present when you're working with them, and know that, it really means a lot for me if you want to go ahead with this, I really think that you can step in and be profitable. I know a lot of nurturing people who make a lot of money, but I also know how many people they help. Okay. That's an integral part of who they are. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Now, think of ways, we're talking about charity, how your company or product or whatever it is you do represents charity. So if you don't have anything scheduled, ask them for ideas of what charity or service project you and your team can be involved in. Because I'm telling you, they're not going to be invested in anything that you have unless it helps someone, something, or somehow. It has to create a change in the world, right? It has to make a difference, or they're just not in. They're just not, right? So I know a lot of companies, for instance, every time you buy one of their products or click and buy something, a percentage goes to saving the rainforest. One time I did a blitz on this is many years ago. I was selling a product in an MLM company. All my sales, I would take like 25% and donate it to, I think it was breast cancer or something like that, right? I got a lot of sales, and I looked at their personnel. They were all from nurturers, right? It doesn't mean the other codes don't believe in charity, but it resonates with nurturers the most, okay? The next is ethics. Ethics must be at the core of your business. And to be honest, I don't care what code you are, you really need this, right? Just not your ethics, but also those of your entire company. If there's a hint of a wolf in sheep's clothing or a tendency to hurt, manipulate, or defraud, nurturers are out of there. They will not get involved with you or your organization ever again, probably. Because that's like at the core of who they are. It goes against their being, right? And, maybe some companies aren't so ethical. It's just not the vibe that the nurturer lives in, right? So make sure that you're above board with what you're doing. I mean, we've all made mistakes. I have. I've burned nurturers and didn't realize it till later. I did something inadvertent I shouldn't have done. But again, you're just growing as a human being, right? And I made sure I corrected that right away so that it was taken care of. Harmony is the next value. Harmony simply means peace. They want everyone to get along. Okay. So if a nurturing personality participates in the Miss USA, Miss America pageant, when asked what they will focus on if they win the crown, they always say world peace. And actually, they genuinely mean it. Okay. They are truly looking for world peace. They avoid any form of conflict. If anything in the sales process creates conflict, they'll avoid it at all costs. And, something else that may come up here when working with nurturers about avoidance is passive aggressiveness. So just be aware of that and just keep being direct with them. If someone's passive aggressive, and just say, look, are there questions you need answered? What other information did you want to talk about? Was there something bothering you? Did you need more time? Right? So there's always ways to circumvent those objections. Okay. But make sure that you're doing it in a way that gets them to commit and participate in the conversation. Then you can find out more information. Okay. Next is morality. So in a selling situation, honor is what's morally important to your end prospect. You don't have to agree with them. Okay. Simply respect their feelings. don't discuss situations that are out of alignment with their moral compass. As I said, and I was in this in my Leadership Warriors room in Clubhouse last night, and there was one person who I think could be a little bit emotionally stunted. That's just my opinion. And he was really disruptive in the room, and people were complaining, and I'm like, wait a minute here. This is just his opinion. And if it's not in alignment with your opinion, that's okay, right? And so I said, take a step back. You know, he's respecting your opinion, but are you respecting his because he doesn't agree, right? So just keep an eye on that. I'm a lot of space for people that way because I know what his code was. And so, you know, as a nurturer, sometimes they can be too nurturing or too giving. And I want to talk about that for a minute. So when you're a nurturer, you tend to give so much more than you receive. And I think being a really effective, powerful nurturer means you can give and receive evenly. So if your giving's way up here and your receiving's way down here, you're not in balance. I don't care what code you are. So learning to receive and keep this in balance is something you constantly have to do. And for nurturers, the tip I give them if they have problems receiving is literally to say, yes, I'll have that. Thank you very much. So if that's an issue for you, that's what you start saying. Yes, I'll have that. Thank you very much. Okay. And that's what's really key here. Okay. The last value I'm going to talk about is contribution. So what contributions are you making to improve their life as a customer? Think about this, right? What contributions is your company making to improve the lives of others, whether through charity, goodwill in the community or world, or through your product or service itself? Now, I used to sell a health product that helped people with their pain. So I had a ton, and I mean a ton, of nurturing clients. You can also affect a nurturer's buying decision by identifying the contributions they can make by doing business with you. If a portion of your proceeds go to breast cancer, I kind of talked about this earlier, you know, the Boys and Girls Club, scouting programs, or some other type of church or religious organization, your nurturing prospect will feel like they're contributing to the world by doing business with you. So again, they're a part of the whole process. So, and actually nurturing customers will pay twice as much or buy twice as much if there's some type of contribution involved. Okay. It's fascinating, right? So it's always good to have that extra bonus. It's a win-win, right? They win, they feel good about it. You win, you're selling twice as many products. The charity of choice wins because they're getting money to further their deliverables. Okay. And that's a little bit about the nurturing personality type. The one thing I do want to say when you're working with nurturers, when you greet them, they're the huggers. So make sure that, you know, we all have those people who come in for hugs and don't ask, right? So if you're a nurturer, come in and just say, is it okay? You know, especially with what's going on in the world today, you know, you have to expect to be hugged by a nurturer, right? But if you're not comfortable, you need to let them know about your boundaries. Okay. And if they're shaking hands and it's not appropriate to hug, like for instance, in a business setting, what they'll do when you shake hands is probably put their other hand on top of your hand just to make that extra connection. Okay, how many times has that happened? And the last tip I'm going to give you when working with this personality type in business or in your life, make sure you look them right in the eye. Okay? It's important when you're speaking to a nurturer, be sure that you look at them for 2 or 3 seconds at least. If your eyes are darting here and there, to them, that's suspicious contact. That's a red flag, right? Because they want you to be vulnerable. And, you know, when they're looking into your eyes, they are scanning your soul. They want to make sure that you're above board and that you're doing the right thing and that you're someone they want to do business with. Okay. So they're literally searching if you're the type of person they can trust, get to know, like, and trust, right? So, you know, when you're working with nurturers, just be your authentic self. Everything else will follow. But remember a few of the tips that I gave you today, and it's going to give you the extra edge when you're dealing with a personality type who is a nurturer. They're usually dressed more relaxed, more casual, not always have makeup on, you know, and they're just very kind, loving people. Okay. You'll have no problem recognizing them. So my name is Laura Armstrong. My company is Leadership with Laura. You can reach me at laura@leadershipwithlaura.com or join me on Clubhouse or any of my Instagram, social media, any kind of social media. I'm all on there. Love to hear from you and what you do. And it's been great talking to you today. And next week, we're going to cover the fourth personality type, the knowledge. And we'll get into that a little bit. All right, you guys, have a great week. I'll talk to you soon, and look out for those nurturers. Have a great one. Bye, everyone.
Haiti borders with the Dominican.
Her name is Serena Buffalino. They call her Mrs. B, and her class always begins with a pledge.
Something local, something global. Haiti.
They're words that carry weight here. Helping yourself means helping others, giving back, here and a world away in Haiti.
And nobody's helping them, except for people like us.
It was through her the class learned of Haiti, of the nearly 1 million orphans, many with no school, no support, no Mrs. B in their lives.
They could not wrap their head around that.
Mrs. B's students are among Toronto's most at risk. Their challenges vary from emotional and behavioral difficulties to learning disabilities. Their trauma so severe they can't function in a regular school setting, and we aren't allowed to show most of their classmates.
For most of the kids, most of society has turned them away. And in this classroom, they're accepted. They're accepted no matter what for who they are.
Take Yolanda. She came here last year so burdened and withdrawn, she would often fall silent, sometimes for days on end. It was, she says, Mrs. B's patience, her quiet encouragement, that saved her.
She actually saves people's lives from dangers.
And perhaps that's why these marginalized kids feel such a kinship with the orphans of Haiti, and why they were moved to act.
And so when Yolanda and Jackie and Patrick said, well, Miss B, we need to build them a school.
Build a school, no easy task. They started out raising money. They sold samosas, washed cars, screened movies, you name it. And in just a few months, this little class raised $20,000. So much, it's not just a one-room schoolhouse they can build, but a full 3-story school. And so Mrs. B set off on a journey she'd dreamed of, up into the dusty mountains above Port-au-Prince to a town called Canaan. It's home to thousands of earthquake refugees who live with no running water, no electricity, and no school, until now. The first step was a temporary school. It's up and running. 53 students already in uniform. The permanent school for 250 is growing from its foundations.
It makes me want to cry because she just makes me feel so awed, and I'm very proud of her.
All of this because of a handful of students back in Canada and Mrs. B, the teacher who believed in them.
These are for you.
At another fundraiser, a special tribute to the students, accepted by someone who, without Mrs. B, might not be here.
They believe in me and I believe in them, and together we not only change our lives, but we change the world around us.
For inspiring great things and seeing the potential in everyone, Serena Buffalino is this week's Everyday Hero.
This is the reason why I do what I do, is because of Yolanda and all the
Good morning, everybody. How are we doing on this wonderful Thursday? Can you believe it is Thursday? And we're in the middle, well, I don't even know if it's the middle anymore, of August. I was like, what happened? What happened to May? What happened to June? I'm like, what is going on? What is really going on? And I don't mind. Well, okay, I'm going to say I do mind the time going by because I just have so much I want to do. It's like, you have this, like, you're on your journey. You're like, you got these things you want to do, people you want to meet, things, movers and shakers. You want to create an impact in the world and stuff. And then you look up and it's August and you're like, okay, I have how many? And especially if you're thinking about, well, I got to get everything done by the end of 2021. Well, if you haven't got half of it done, you're a little late. And so you're a lot late. So see, that's why we have to say, I can't even look at that anymore. See, I used to be one of those people where if I didn't get stuff done by the end of the year, I would go like crazy. I'd be like, okay, I put all this down, didn't get, it's December 1st. I'm like, what? And then I start rushing. Like every day I'm putting, instead of 24 hours, I'm trying to create 36 hours, which, you can't do that. You only have 24 hours in a day. And then you just, you're running and running and running. And then January 1st comes and you're sitting there all exhausted and tired. You probably can't even, really get into the New Year's like festivals because you're so beat to my, I was trying to get to all my goals before the year's out. And then you look around, you're like, okay, is anybody marking me? Is anybody giving me a grade because I didn't make the cut or whatever you're trying to do? No, that's all in your head. It's all in your head. No one's on the side saying, Barbara, you didn't finish 1 through 12. What happened? So that's why I always tell people, just do an Usha moment. Usha. I always do Usha. Just do Usha. And just calm it down and just do what you can do. I always tell people, whatever you did for the year, whatever you completed, whatever you started, it was meant to be at that time. Appreciate it, give honor to it, and then move on. That's all you have to do. That's all you had to do. It releases all that other stuff. So just a little tip for today about that, because I know a lot of people are looking at that time and looking at those months and saying, oh my God, it's August. So with that, let that go. Laura, she knows she's queen. Queen Laura Armstrong. Every Thursday she comes on and gives us so good information. She talked about the nurturer today. So I know with the bank code, I know what I am. Action is ANKB. Yeah. So I'm an ANK personality. So basically I'm action. I'm a nurturer, knowledge, and then blueprint, which I'm getting better with blueprint. I am. But yeah, I am an action taker, and then the nurturer kicks in, and sometimes, yeah. So one thing Laura said about nurturers is that we care a lot. We care a lot to the point where sometimes we will overextend ourselves. We will give, and give. And then next thing you're looking around like, okay, how can I pay my bills? Because I gave everything away. So you have to make sure you got that balance. So, thank you, Laura, for bringing in that and being such an awesome expert on the Diamond Factor Experience show every Thursday, and bringing in your leadership skills and your communication skills. You're your sister. You're a sister from another mother to me. I always tell you that. You're just awesome. But now we are going to bring in, which I've been waiting for this interview. I have been waiting for, I don't know if he's been waiting, but I know I've been waiting because this person is not only just a good friend that I've been knowing for a long time, but he is an impactor. And he might sit there and start saying, blah, 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 what you say? No, he's an impactor in the world. He really is. Now I'm thinking about it. I said, Dad, I've been in Toastmasters for 10, 11 years. And I think I met Eric. It's been 9 years for us. And when I first seen Eric on a big stage in Toastmasters, and you probably remember this, he was dressed up in a referee top, black and white, and he was on the big stage. And I was like a freshman in Toastmasters at that time, a freshman. So I was just like, ooh and ah and all over the place. It's like, oh my God. So I'm going to this big conference, district conference at the time. And there's like these 9 people that are going for this international speech contest. And Eric was one of them. And he graced the stage. And when I looked at my mentor, because you get mentors in Toastmasters, her name is Ann Pecklove. I give her kudos. And I looked at Ann because first of all, she had to push me to the conference because I'm like, it's on a Saturday, it's 2 days, really? And then when I get there and I see Eric on the stage speaking, I was like, I want to be like him. I want to speak like him. It was it all, I'm telling you. And he commands the stage. And then just to see him from that point to being this wonderful leader, excuse me, that he does his workshops and everything. And then he's in communication. He's the development strategist. I mean, it's just never ending. I mean, for him, from a professional speaker to now, he teaches people how to do that. He teaches people how to be that leader. He perfects all the time in that, and he wants people that's in his life doing the same thing. And I have to give Eric kudos because he has taught me certain things. I never really tell him this, but I always tell people, give them their flowers while they're here because they can't hear you when they're underground. So I want Eric to know that you are awesome. You are tremendous in my life and in so many others. Thank you for being a power pack impactor. Thank you for just being that motivator all the time. And just always, saying that, hey, you got to have the goods and bring it 100% when you get on that stage and when you're teaching or what you're doing. But I can't bring him on just saying, hey, here we go, Eric. I got to do it the right way. So here he comes. Mr. Eric Feinendegen, how you doing?
Barbara, good morning. Barbara, I can tell you, thank you for the introduction. I still have that referee outfit. I should have worn it for this morning's interview, right? By the way, I want to tell your previous guest, Laura, I wasn't planning on taking 2 pages of notes before I came on. So, Laura, thank you so much for that wonderful information. And one other quick thing, Barbara, you talked about the USA moment.
Yeah.
Well, I have 3 kids. It's their first day of school today.
Oh.
So I had several of those moments trying to get them ready with my wife and onto the bus and things like that. So,
did you take the pictures? I know usually when the first day of school, you take the pictures and the first day and all that. Did you have all that going on?
Yeah, we got the pictures like we do every year. And this year it's a little bit different because now we have a puppy. So we've got the 3 kids in front of the tree that keeps growing with the kids, and now we have the puppy. So, anyways.
Now your daughter, I was gonna ask you, Eric, your daughter, is she in? I know she's the oldest one. Is she in high school yet, or is she still kind of in grade school?
You know what? 13 going on 30 type of thing. So she's just starting 8th grade.
Okay.
Couldn't be more proud of Rachel. She's got huge hopes and dreams. She wants to be the next Beyonce. So I'm hoping for my retirement plan, I'm hoping that is the case.
She's a very outstanding young lady. I mean, I see her, when you're putting things on Facebook, and I'm like, that lady. And I call lady because, like you said, she is 13 going on 30. I said she can teach all of us a few things.
The way these kids grow up, too fast.
They do, too fast. Well, Mr. Eric, we're bringing you on because, first of all, just, for you being you, and usually I do these like interviews as a conversational thing because I like the people to get to kind of know the person, especially after you get to know somebody, as you know, relationship first. And then after that, you might want to reach out and, work with you or even spend some money with you. You never know how that's going to go on the show. So, first of all, Eric, how did you, I always tell people, always go back and say, because you weren't always this famous impactor, speaker, leadership, come on, you weren't all that. You started somewhere before you got to that point. So give us just a little preview on how you got to this journey.
Sure. Well, so you want me to go into the warts and the horror stories right off the bat, don't you, Barbara? Well, it's interesting. A lot of people, they know me as a 2-time finalist in the World Championship of Public Speaking, and I do, corporate keynoting and things like that. But I did not start out as a professional speaker and a leadership trainer. I'm a numbers guy. So my degrees are in economics and finance. I have my securities licenses, and I work in the financial services industry. So my journey started in a very, let's just say, interesting way. Back in college, I had to deliver a term paper in order to graduate. So you had to present it in front of the class. Well, thank goodness there was no iPhones back then, because I walked up to deliver the paper, Barbara, and all I remember is going blank. And I'm told that I had some sort of combination of gibberish and coherent thought.
Oh, no.
Enough to where I was able to get a D on that presentation and barely pass the class. So then early on in my professional career, I had another unfortunate speaking experience in front of my peers. And you'd think I would have learned my lesson by then and gotten help, as a speaker and a communicator. But no. It wasn't until I had to stand up in front of a Chamber of Commerce audience and talk about a product or service that I represented. I was selling insurance at the time. And afterward, a woman came up to me and she said, "Eric, have you ever heard of Toastmasters?" Now I have, I didn't give much thought. She said, "It really puts the icing on the cake when it comes to your public speaking." Now that's her way of saying to me, "You need help." And I knew I did. So the next week I went to my first Toastmasters meeting, and over these past 17 years, and I think we have known each other for about a decade or 11 years, Barbara, it literally has changed my life. And it's about taking that first step. So I took that first step, and it has led to, as I mentioned, me being a 2-time finalist in the World Championship of Public Speaking. I taught for 6 years at the graduate school level, executive communications. I speak to Fortune 500 companies. I do weekend-long conferences as an MC. I started my own public speaking and communication business. I'm now, I'm sure we're going to talk about it, an author. And, I'm John C. Maxwell Leadership and Speaker Certified. Because I made that one decision to say yes, it has opened up a whole new world of opportunities for me, and I couldn't be more grateful. So that's kind of the journey over the last 17 years.
I just, when you say 17 years, Eric, I was like, wow. I mean, that is a long time doing your genius and building that genius up. And like you said, it opened up a lot of doors because, we're both in Toastmasters, and I just did, my little 10 years, just little 10 years. No. But no, like you said, one thing I can agree with you when you said that, somebody kind of told you basically, why don't you try Toastmasters? Well, my manager did that to me. She said that nicely without saying, "Barbara, you need help." Just like how you said. And she pulled me on.
She was a nurturer, Barbara. She didn't want to be too direct with you.
She was like, "We got to help her somewhere." So in the same review is like, okay, let's, because people see potential in you. And that's what I think. I really believe that when people see something in you, and they see something in you, Eric, and I'm glad they did, because you are awesome. But sometimes you have to, iron yourself to what he said, iron sharpens iron and everything like that. So you have to build that. Build that axe.
Yeah, Barbara, if I could just share with your listeners and your audience here, people come to me all the time, and they, my 2 speeches from the finals of the World Championship are on YouTube, and I get all these messages, and they say, "Oh my gosh, it's amazing! How do you, I want to be just like you." Well, what they don't see is the toil and the self-doubt that goes on underneath the surface, the thousands of hours of rehearsal, working with 5 different, speech coaches. I work with a 5-language coach, a humor coach, a thinking coach, a vocal coach. And what I want to inject is, a lot of people, they look on social media and they see, the shiny, bright pictures and all the success. Well, there's always a backstory.
Yes.
Right? Your last presenter talked about balance. Well, you can't have success without the sacrifice. Right? So if you want to reach those high levels, the work has to be put in. The
Yes.
sacrifice has to be there,
Yes.
right? You have to be willing to take some risks. And
Yeah.
I know you've done that in your career, and that's why you're at where you're at, and that's why I've been able to achieve, a certain level of success as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that out before we get to your book, because we have to get to the book. But before you brought that out, because and another thing that I always say about Eric is he is so perseverance. He perseveres so much. So you talking about, if you go in the dictionary, you'll see Eric's face under perseverance. I'm telling you, this man, whatever he has to do when he talking about practicing and coaches and continuing on to practice and practice and practice until you be like, Eric, no more. No, I gotta do one more time. Well, wait a minute, you gotta sleep. Well, one more time. And he does that. And that's so ethical to him that he does that, because he's teaching me. I mean, I used to be like, oh, I'll just do this speech and then, I'm okay. I look at Eric, I'm like, Bar, what are you doing? You got to do the Eric. And I call it that. I said, I got to do the Eric. So, Eric, thank you for teaching those lessons to us.
Yeah, and I'll just share a quick example. It took me 51 contests in 11 and a half years to break through when it comes to, competitive speaking, which is the Toastmasters, what we're talking about. It took me over 11 and a half years just to get to the semifinals of the World Championship, right? So you talk about, perseverance. I'm too stubborn for my own good at sometimes, right, Barbara? But
you need some rest.
I guess I bought into the theory that persistence is omnipotence.
Yeah.
It's been said many times, nothing is greater than persistence. And I've just bought into it. And that's something I think your listeners should buy into as well. Listen, it's a long journey. Yes. Everyone's journey is unique to him or herself. Yes. And if you stay persistent and hang around the right people, good things will happen.
Well, you know what? That's going to segue right into good things will happen with you, a lot of things. But you are a first-time author, and I have to congratulate you, because I know that was another journey that you took. And I want you to talk about it. In fact, I'm going to share. Let me share the screen here so people can see. This is Mr. Eric's first book, and it's called The Finer Things, a 52-week guide for living an inspired life, Volume 1. And I like to see Volume 1 because that means a Volume 2 is coming.
Although, Barbara, I have to say, you talk about persistence. Anyone who's written a book knows it's a labor of love. I'm thinking about taking off that Volume 1, after going through the journey. So we'll keep it on for now, but we'll see if Volume 2 ever happens. Because again, it's been quite the trip. But yes, that is Volume 1.
What you said, Eric, you might just take it off. But okay, now tell us a little bit of how, like you said, being persistent and everything. Yeah. And, I tell people, when people get to the point where they're like, okay, I want to put pen to paper and put it out there and get a book out there and be an author. It's not as easy as people, just like you said, with speaking. So give us a little journey on how you got to this point.
Sure. So growing up, everyone has their heroes. And, I had quite a few heroes. Some of them were these professional speakers, right? They would motivate hundreds and thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of people on stage. The Les Browns, Zig Ziglars, Jim Rohns. And what I noticed was their influence went beyond that stage when they wrote a book. You could leave that arena where they were speaking, but then, sometimes, how it is, that motivation goes away, life hits you in the face. Yeah. But if you have something in writing, your message can live forever.
Yes.
And that's something that I embraced and said, hey, I want to be able to do that. Not only for myself, but for others as well. Now, it took me 25 years, right, since I had that revelation. Again, life gets in the way, the marriage, kids, and the career, right? But
you did it.
Yeah, but what I wanted to do, Barbara, was a couple of things. Was I wanted to present, the subtitle is, it's a 52-week guide to living an inspired life. Because growing up, right, I didn't have a very strong male role model. My father is paranoid schizophrenic, and so I was missing that. So I was always searching for kind of that one philosophy or strategy, that one idea that would help me in my life, get me to where I wanted to be. And turns out it doesn't exist. There's not just one thing that is going to get you, to the life that you dream of. It's multiple things. Again, I talk about it's the people you hang around with. It's the books and the content that you consume. It's taking the risk. It's all these things.
Yes.
So I wanted to offer to people one nugget a week. So it's a 52-week guide right throughout the year that you can absorb and use to stay inspired, stay motivated, and to achieve your goals.
Yes.
But the second reason I wrote it is because simply society needs it.
Yeah.
During the research that, I was conducting to write the book, I mean, the numbers are staggering. 1 in 10 Americans are on antidepressants. Gallup did a poll that said over 70% of people are disengaged at work. Now, think about it, 70%. So you spend your whole adolescence and early adulthood going to college, studying to get a career, to be fulfilled, and then you're 7 out of 10 are disengaged. And then another study came out, according to research, stating that over half of people are feeling depressed and unmotivated. Especially it's been exacerbated
because of the COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, and now with the variant coming back, people need positive influence. They need strong messages. They need encouragement. So that was the second reason why I wrote the book, and I can't wait for it to get out in the market.
Well, I've been like, I'm like, yes, Eric. But Eric, thank you so much for this book. Is gonna really. I always tell people, you're speaking, what you do and what you write saves lives, because, like you said, you're doing inspirational parts for 52 weeks that we need, like you said, with everything going on. So this is like the lighthouse to me, to open a lighthouse for people's lives so they can say, hey, there's hope here. Let me read something inspirational so it can move me to my next, level, whatever I need to do. So thank you for doing that. And I know you also do, like, I don't know if it's monthly or weekly. You have the finer things on, I know you have it on a video on Facebook, right?
Yes, it's a video blog, which actually is how I was able to move forward with the book. Because a couple of years ago, I started posting, these 2 to 3 minute video blogs. I'm like, wait a second, I got some pretty good stuff here, right? This stuff is working, right? People gave us some good feedback. So I said, all right, I'm going to take these entries that I have in my video blog, which is the finer things, strategies to living an inspired life. And I simply developed those into individual chapters, and it's really come along very nicely. But one more thing I do want to add, the reason why, I offer 52, Barbara, is, we live in such a diverse environment and a diverse universe that, not everything is going to resonate, with certain individuals. So I look at the book as kind of the Swiss Army knife of personal development. If one tool doesn't work for you, I promise you there will be something else right in there that will resonate and that you could use to live a more inspired life. That is for sure.
Why did so when you said that, I was thinking about, when this salesperson comes on TV and said, well, we have this and this, but wait, we got something else. And they bring out something else and they said, but wait, we got one more thing. That's what it sounds like. What your book's going to do is like, hey, you think I don't have that covered? I also have this for you. So that is so awesome.
With over 50 strategies, something's going to hit with everybody.
Believe
me,
it has
to. At least I'm hoping. I'm hoping it does.
Well, Eric, I put down your contact information so people can get in touch with you. And please, I ask the listeners all the time to, support Eric. He is, like I said, he is an impactor. He is just, you see how he's a breath of fresh air. He's just so nice and nice. And he will teach you so much because he taught me. I'm telling you, hey, this is where I got me. So I want Eric, before we end, I want to take me down for just a few seconds. And I want you to just give some last words for the listeners for them. Okay. So I'll be right back.
Okay. Sure. Well, first, Barbara, of course, I want to thank you for having me on your show. And I want to give you a little bit of love, watching you grow and develop and, being an influence in my life. And you just blazing a trail for the rest of us. I want to thank you for your leadership, your inspiration. We love you to death, Barbara. And you are an impactor. But final words is this. I'm going to encourage everyone to take personal responsibility for the success, well, and quite frankly, the failure in your life. I believe that when we own our actions, we own our attitudes, and we take ownership of our life, that is when true change and transformation is going to happen. So I'm going to encourage you, take those risks. Sometimes they're not easy, but take them. Hang around good people. People like Laura Armstrong, people like Barbara Beckley, the people that were on this call earlier. Absorb that content. Go for your dreams. The time is now. And continue to listen to the Diamond Factor. Barbara, I want to thank you again for having me. It's been an honor, and wish you much success. And I know I'm going to see you soon. I think
we got to see each other at the club level. I said we got to see each other at the club,
right? In person, hopefully soon, Barbara. Yeah, I love seeing you on screen, but come on, I haven't given you a hug in over 2 years.
Wow, you know, when you said it like that, you're right. It's like, wow, we haven't really gave each other hugs or anything in years.
Right.
Wow. Well,
so looking
Eric,
forward to getting together soon.
Well, I just want to let everybody know again, please. Now, Eric, can you tell everybody when the book's going to be out real quickly before we close?
A little hesitant to say that because we're still making some last minute edits, but probably in the next few weeks. You can check out the book on www.inspiredtoempower.net. It will be available on Amazon as well. The title, once again, is called The Finer Things, a 52-week guide to living an inspired life. But just a few short weeks, it will be available for purchase. And pick up a copy. Be happy to sign it for you when I see you in person and live.
Well, we were going to make sure that the Diamond Factor will make sure that we still give promotional when it gets close. So Eric, please remind me of that. And we'll make sure that we do a little sizzle here to make sure that we support you, because that's what it's all about, is being supportive to each other. It's always supposed to be a win-win. So thank you, Eric, for coming on the Diamond Factor Experience Show. And we will see each other soon. And everybody, we will be right back. Hello, I am back. That was an awesome interview conversation, I always say, with Mr. Eric. Wow. You know, I keep thinking back of 17 years, and you know, we just hit a little tad of what Eric does and what he does with his, you know, when he's working on things. And I call him Mr. Persistent, because he will go the distance. And you know, I was thinking about that. You know, one thing, we got to put the work in. It's one thing to say you want to get to something, you want to strive and be either this coach or this speaker, or, you know, maybe athlete or author, whatever you're trying to do in life. But you have to be persistent in it. You really do. There's no way getting around that. You know, some people like to get around like, well, how can I ease on and do something else just to get a little bit faster or whatever? So sometimes it don't work that way. And sometimes I tell myself I don't want to work that way, because you learn as you're growing. As you're going to those, you know, I call them low valleys, high level, low valleys, high level. In life, that's when you learn. And then when you get to that finish line, or whatever, if you want to call it that, or a result, then you can step back and you can look back and say, wow, I did it. The little tear that comes in your eye, the little smile that comes on your face, and you'd be like, wow, I succeeded. I made it through everything, through all the earthquakes and floods that happened in my life. I did it. I wrote this book. I am this speaking. I am on stages now. I am coaching people that I want to give value to. I am running the race. If it's, something that's doing sports, or I'm this wonderful singer, whatever it may be. And you made it to that, but it takes persistence. It takes you taking that dedication to say to yourself, I'm going to do it. Now, some days you're going to be like, I don't feel like it. We're human. And that's why I'm putting that out there. But I always tell people, don't stay there. Take your little breather. Take the self-care. Take that little pause sometime. But don't stay there. Get back up. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. And don't put yourself so much pressure that you can't move forward. That's what I was saying earlier about, we get all into this, oh, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I wrote this down. It's not done. Oh my God. And freaking out. And then that stops you. That's time. I keep telling you, time is of the essence. You can't get it back. So just take that time out, get back up, keep it moving. So Eric and Laura, thank you for a wonderful show today. We will be back tomorrow with some surprises. I'm not going to tell you who I'm bringing. It's still going to be a surprise, but we will be back at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, right here, everybody, at the Diamond Factor Experience Show with Barbara Beckley and guests and experts, because it takes a team to make it to the next level in what you're doing. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.